What if I told you that the bedtime routine you've followed for decades is slowly killing you? That four seemingly innocent habits practiced by millions of Americans over 70 are causing sudden deaths during sleep at an alarming rate? Last week, a 73-year-old retired teacher went to bed after watching his favorite baseball game, following the exact same routine he'd enjoyed for years. His wife found him dead 12 hours later. The coroner said it was natural causes, but the truth is far more sinister and completely preventable. Tonight, you'll discover the four deadly habits that are claiming thousands of lives, and the simple changes that could save yours. The silence was deafening. Martha Johnson stood frozen in the doorway of their bedroom, her morning coffee growing cold in her trembling hands. Her husband of 47 years, Robert, lay peacefully in their bed, but something was terribly wrong. His chest wasn't rising. His face, usually flushed with the warmth of morning light, had turned an ashen gray. The retired high school teacher from Springfield, Illinois, who had dedicated his life to shaping young minds, who had survived the Chicago winters and celebrated every Cubs victory with the passion of a true believer, was gone. Just 12 hours earlier, Bob had been doing what he'd done every Tuesday night for the past decade. The Cubs were playing late, and like any devoted fan, he wasn't about to miss a single inning. The leftover pizza from dinner sat on his TV tray, the cheese still warm and inviting. A cold beer sweated in his hand as he cheered and groaned with every pitch. When the game stretched into extra innings, Bob cranked the thermostat up to a comfortable 78 degrees. "Martha always keeps it too cold," he muttered, settling deeper into his favorite recliner. It was nearly midnight when the Cubs finally clinched the victory, and Bob shuffled to bed feeling satisfied, content, and completely unaware that he had just sealed his fate. What Martha didn't know as she stood there, heart pounding, was that her husband had become part of a hidden epidemic sweeping across America. An epidemic so silent, so insidious, that it's claiming the lives of thousands of seniors every single month, and most families never see it coming. Thanks for joining us here on Voice of Age, a warm space for real talk about life, health, and heart in our later years. The Centers for Disease Control released a report last year that should have made front-page headlines, but somehow it slipped through the cracks. 75% of Americans over 70 have at least one bedtime habit that significantly increases their risk of sudden death during sleep. 75%. That's 3 out of every 4 seniors walking around with a ticking time bomb in their nighttime routine, completely unaware of the danger lurking in what seems like innocent, everyday behaviors. The Mayo Clinic's research reveals an even more chilling truth. 40% of all sudden cardiac deaths occur during sleep. Not during strenuous exercise, not during moments of high stress, but during the time when we should be safest, most peaceful, most protected. The American Heart Association's latest findings show that sleep-related deaths among adults over 70 have surged by 23% in just the past decade. These aren't just numbers on a medical chart. These are mothers and fathers, grandparents and mentors, people like Bob, who had so much more life to live. But here's what makes this tragedy even more heartbreaking. Bob's death was completely preventable. The 4 habits he practiced that final night, habits that millions of Americans over 70 repeat every single evening, created a perfect storm of cardiovascular stress that his 73-year-old heart simply couldn't survive. The late-night pizza, the warm bedroom, the seemingly innocent routines he'd followed for years without consequence had become deadly weapons against his aging body. Your body at 70 is not the same body you had at 50. The cardiovascular system that once powered through late dinners and warm bedrooms now struggles under pressures that would have been manageable decades earlier. Your metabolism has shifted, your circulation has changed, your heart's ability to adapt has diminished. What once seemed harmless has become a matter of life and death. Tonight, I'm going to share with you the exact 4 bedtime habits that killed Bob Johnson and are threatening millions of Americans just like him. Some will shock you. Others might describe your own nightly routine with uncomfortable accuracy. But here's the promise I'm making to you. By the end of this video, you'll have the knowledge to protect yourself and the people you love from Bob's fate. If this information could save even one life, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Your support helps us continue bringing you the health truths that could literally mean the difference between waking up tomorrow morning and becoming another silent statistic. The autumn air in Dallas carried the familiar excitement of Sunday night football as William Bill Thompson settled into his worn leather recliner, the same spot where he'd watched the Cowboys for 37 years. The nachos were perfect tonight, loaded with melted cheese, jalapenos, and all the fixings that made his weekly ritual complete. At 74, Bill had earned these simple pleasures. After decades of back-breaking construction work, building the homes and offices that shaped his city skyline, he deserved to enjoy his retirement exactly as he pleased. But as Bill savored each cheesy bite while watching his beloved Cowboys battle under the bright stadium lights, something sinister was unfolding inside his body. The clock on his mantle ticked past 10 o'clock, and with each passing minute, his cardiovascular system was being pushed toward a breaking point that would have been unthinkable in his younger years. What Bill didn't understand, what no one had ever told him, was that his 74-year-old metabolism had become a shadow of its former self. The robust digestive system that once powered through late-night meals without consequence now struggled like an overtaxed engine. The sodium from his nachos was sending his blood pressure soaring just as his body desperately needed to enter its natural nighttime recovery phase. His heart, which should have been slowing to a gentle, restorative rhythm, was instead racing to process the sudden influx of fats and salts flooding his system. The science behind this tragedy is both simple and terrifying. When you eat late after 70, your body faces an impossible choice: sleep or digest. It cannot do both effectively. As Bill lay down in bed an hour later, his stomach still working overtime to break down his feast, gravity became his enemy. The acid meant to stay safely in his stomach began creeping upward, triggering dangerous heart rhythm disturbances that his aging cardiovascular system couldn't handle. Johns Hopkins researchers have documented this deadly pattern in study after study. Late-night eating increases heart attack risk by 55% in adults over 70. 55%. That's not a minor increase. That's a death sentence delivered one late dinner at a time. The cruelest part of this epidemic is how it masquerades as comfort and normalcy. Bill's wife Sarah would bring him a cold beer during commercial breaks, a loving gesture that was unknowingly adding fuel to the fire. The alcohol, combined with the high-sodium nachos, created a perfect storm of dehydration and electrolyte imbalance. His kidneys, already working harder in his 70s, couldn't process the excess sodium efficiently. His blood began thickening, creating the conditions for the blood clots that would eventually claim his life. But food wasn't the only beverage-related danger lurking in Bill's routine. Like millions of Americans over 70, he'd gulp down a large glass of water before bed, thinking he was being health conscious. What he didn't realize was that this well-intentioned habit was setting him up for a cascade of potentially fatal events. Multiple bathroom trips meant multiple opportunities for dangerous blood pressure drops, falls, and the chronic sleep disruption that slowly destroys cardiovascular health. The solution isn't complicated, but it requires understanding that your body at 70 operates under completely different rules than it did at 50. The 3-4-2 rule could have saved Bill's life. Last meal 3 to 4 hours before bed. Last significant drink 2 hours before sleep. And if hunger strikes, only sleep-promoting foods like almonds or tart cherries in quantities smaller than your palm. Tonight, Bill's empty chair sits in front of the television. A silent reminder that the simple act of changing when and what we consume before bed can mean the difference between waking up tomorrow and becoming another statistic in America's hidden sleep death epidemic. The desert heat of Phoenix had nothing on the suffocating warmth that Dorothy Chin insisted on maintaining in her bedroom each night. At 71, the retired nurse who had spent decades caring for others in the sterile corridors of St. Joseph's hospital had developed an almost obsessive need for warmth during sleep. The thermostat in her modest ranch home never dropped below 80 degrees, and her bedroom felt like a greenhouse where life should flourish, but instead, death was quietly taking root. Dorothy's daughter Linda had grown increasingly concerned during her weekend visits. "Mom, it's so hot in here, I can barely breathe," she would plead, but Dorothy would simply pull another blanket around her shoulders and dismiss her daughter's worries with a wave of her hand. "I've always been cold, dear. I need the warmth to sleep." What Dorothy didn't understand was that her desperate pursuit of comfort was slowly strangling her cardiovascular system, night after suffocating night. The human body at 71 is not the same finely tuned machine it was at 30 or even 50. The mechanisms that once efficiently regulated temperature, the intricate dance of blood vessel dilation and sweat production, had become clumsy and unreliable. Dorothy's warm bedroom was forcing her heart to work 25% harder every single night, pumping blood through increasingly strained vessels in a futile attempt to cool her overheating body. But the temperature was just the beginning of Dorothy's environmental nightmare. The blue glow of her bedroom television, left on all night for company, was systematically destroying her body's natural production of melatonin. Each photon of artificial light was sending signals to her brain that dawn was breaking, disrupting the delicate hormonal cascade that should have been protecting her heart during its most vulnerable hours. In the stagnant air of her sealed bedroom, Dorothy was essentially sleeping in a carbon dioxide chamber. Without proper ventilation, the oxygen levels dropped steadily throughout the night while toxic gases accumulated. Her heart and lungs worked harder and harder to extract what little oxygen remained, creating a stress response that her aging cardiovascular system couldn't sustain. The traffic noise from the nearby Interstate 10 provided a constant barrage of sound pollution that kept Dorothy's nervous system on high alert, even during sleep. Her brain never fully relaxed, never allowed her heart to slip into the slow, healing rhythms that sleep should provide. Each passing truck, each blaring horn, sent stress hormones coursing through her bloodstream, keeping her in a state of perpetual fight or flight that was slowly killing her. The optimal bedroom temperature for a 71-year-old body hovers between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. At this temperature, the body naturally lowers its core temperature, signaling the production of life-saving melatonin and allowing the cardiovascular system to enter true rest. Dorothy's 80-degree sauna was preventing this natural process, creating a cascade of physiological stress that would eventually overwhelm her heart's ability to cope. 3 weeks after Linda's last visit, Dorothy's neighbor found her collapsed beside her bed, another victim of the invisible environmental toxins that had transformed her bedroom from a sanctuary into a death trap. The workshop behind Frank Martinez's modest Los Angeles home told the story of a man who had spent 76 years fixing things that were broken. Decades of grease-stained hands had restored countless engines, rebuilt transmissions, and breathed life back into machines that others had given up on. But there was one thing Frank couldn't fix, one problem he couldn't see coming, and it was happening every single night as he lay on his back in the very bed where he'd slept for 43 years. Elena had been noticing the changes for months. The man who once snored with the steady rhythm of a well-tuned engine now gasped and choked in his sleep, his breathing stopping for terrifying stretches that left her lying awake in terror. Frank would suddenly jolt upright, gulping air like a drowning man surfacing from deep water, then collapse back onto his pillow without any memory of the life or death struggle that had just played out in his throat. What Elena was witnessing was Frank's body slowly suffocating itself. Each night, as gravity pulled his tongue and the weakened muscles of his throat backward, his airway became a collapsing tunnel. The mechanical precision that had served him so well in his garage was now working against him as his own anatomy created a death trap that activated every time he closed his eyes. The cruelest irony was that Frank's chosen sleeping position, the one that had always felt most natural and comfortable, was systematically destroying his cardiovascular system. Every time his breathing stopped, his oxygen levels plummeted, sending his heart into emergency mode. The organ that should have been resting and recovering was instead racing to pump oxygen-depleted blood to his brain, working overtime to keep him alive while he slept. Sleep apnea in adults over 70 isn't just about snoring or feeling tired. It's a 300% increase in stroke risk, a direct pathway to heart failure, and a progressive assault on cognitive function that can accelerate dementia. Frank's morning headaches, his increasing forgetfulness, his inexplicable irritability were all symptoms of a brain slowly starving for oxygen night after night. The solution was hiding in plain sight, as elegant as any mechanical fix Frank had ever implemented. Left side sleeping opens the airway, reduces pressure on the heart, and allows the cardiovascular system to function as nature intended. The position that feels awkward at first becomes life-saving with practice, requiring nothing more than a body pillow and the determination to retrain 76 years of habit. But Frank's story extends beyond sleep position into the dangerous territory of nighttime, medication, timing, and bathroom navigation. His blood pressure pills, taken faithfully each morning, were leaving him vulnerable to dangerous cardiovascular events during the critical overnight hours. The path to his bathroom, traversed in darkness multiple times each night, became a minefield of potential falls and blood pressure drops that could prove fatal. When Elena found Frank unresponsive on a Tuesday morning, his body positioned exactly as it had been for decades, she realized that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one that feels like home. The empty chairs tell the story that statistics cannot capture. Bob's recliner sits silent in Springfield. Bill's leather chair gathers dust in Dallas. Dorothy's bedroom remains a monument to misguided comfort in Phoenix. And Frank's workshop tools wait for hands that will never return. For lives, for families shattered, for preventable tragedies that didn't have to end this way. But your story doesn't have to join theirs. Tonight, you have the power to rewrite the ending, to transform these deadly habits into life-saving changes that could add not just years to your life, but life to your years. The path forward isn't about dramatic overnight transformations that shock your system, but about gentle, deliberate changes that honor your body's new reality at 70 and beyond. Your journey begins with understanding that change after 70 requires patience and wisdom. Your cardiovascular system needs time to adjust, your sleep patterns need gradual retraining, and your habits need gentle coaxing rather than forceful disruption. Start with your eating schedule, moving dinner 30 minutes earlier each night until you've created that crucial 3 to 4 hour buffer before sleep. This isn't about deprivation, it's about timing that works with your body's natural rhythms rather than against them. As you implement these changes, your body will send you signals that demand immediate medical attention. Chest pain during sleep, severe shortness of breath, night sweats that soak through your clothing, or sudden severe headaches upon waking are emergency warnings that cannot be ignored. These symptoms require immediate medical intervention, not gradual adjustment. The Medicare system that you've paid into for decades covers sleep studies when symptoms warrant investigation. If you're experiencing the breathing interruptions that claimed Frank's life, or if your partner notices dangerous sleep patterns, advocate for yourself. Early detection and treatment of sleep apnea can literally save your life and dramatically improve your quality of life. Your family becomes your safety net in this transformation. Share these insights with your spouse, your adult children, anyone who cares about your well-being. Give them permission to intervene if they notice dangerous patterns, to wake you if your breathing stops, to insist on medical attention when warning signs appear. Create a bedside emergency plan with essential phone numbers, medication lists, and medical information within easy reach. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, choose one single change to implement. Perhaps you'll eat dinner an hour earlier, lower your thermostat by 2 degrees, or try sleeping on your left side for 30 minutes. Don't attempt everything at once, but do attempt something. Your future self, your family, your grandchildren who want to keep you in their lives for decades to come, all depend on the choice you make tonight. The silence in those empty chairs doesn't have to be your legacy. The choice between tomorrow morning and joining Bob, Bill, Dorothy, and Frank in their tragic fate rests entirely in your hands. Choose life. Choose change. Choose to see another sunrise with the people who love you most. The stories of Bob, Bill, Dorothy, and Frank represent far more than individual tragedies. They illuminate a hidden crisis that's silently claiming thousands of lives across America every single night. What makes these deaths particularly heartbreaking is their complete preventability. Each of these remarkable individuals, who had contributed decades of service to their communities, who had loved ones counting on them, who had so much life left to live, died not from inevitable aging, but from simple habits that could have been changed with basic knowledge and gentle adjustments. The profound lesson here transcends sleep hygiene. It's about recognizing that our bodies at 70 operate under fundamentally different rules than they did at 50. The resilience that once allowed us to eat late, sleep warm, ignore our environment, and rest in any position has evolved into a delicate system that requires mindful care and respect. This isn't about limitation, it's about adaptation and wisdom. What these stories teach us is that the greatest threat to our longevity often masquerades as comfort and routine. Bob's late-night Cubs games, Bill's Sunday nachos, Dorothy's warm bedroom, Frank's familiar sleeping position. These weren't reckless behaviors. They were cherished rituals that had simply outlived their safety. The key to thriving after 70 lies not in abandoning joy, but in finding new ways to experience it that honor our bodies' changing needs. The application to your life starts tonight. Look at your bedtime routine through the lens of these 4 stories. Are you eating late? Is your bedroom too warm? Are you sleeping on your back? Are you ignoring environmental factors that could be slowly compromising your health? The power to change your ending lies entirely in your hands, and the changes required are surprisingly simple once you understand their life or death importance. Your body has carried you faithfully for 7 decades or more. It deserves the wisdom and care that comes with understanding its new requirements. Tonight, you have the opportunity to give it that gift. Which of these 4 deadly habits do you recognize in your own bedtime routine? And what's the first change you're willing to try tonight? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience could help other viewers take that crucial first step towards safer sleep. If this video opened your eyes to these hidden dangers and could help protect you or someone you love, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Your support helps us continue creating content that could literally save lives. Together, we can ensure that more stories end with healthy mornings rather than empty chairs.